if you're looking for someone right on the bubble and someone who really can stir your emotions up, look at number 356, Jane Frederick. At 36 years of age, a graduate of Colorado, she was the dominant American heptathlete until Jackie Joyner-Kersee came along, and now she needs one of the best runs of her life in order to finish in the top 3 and make the team.
That's correct. And when Jackie came along, Jane didn't give up. She didn't see it as a time to go into retirement quietly. She stuck with it, and at 36 years old, she got a medal in the World Championships. But right now, she's in trouble. She has a bandage on her thigh. She's been wearing that for the last couple of events, and now this is a running event. She must catch Wendy Brown and beat her by about 1 to 1.2 seconds to get the 3rd spot on the team.
Frederick, a member of the 72 and 76 Olympic teams. And in 2nd place, we mentioned Cindy Griner. She right now is also in the middle of things in 2nd place and certainly can be beaten by Wendy Brown or Jane Frederick. Griner is 31 years old, another veteran, a member of the 84 Olympic team in this event. She finished 4th in Los Angeles, just missing an Olympic medal. And there is Cindy Griner, number 801. And then if you're looking for a surprise, how about number 610, Wendy Brown, who's 22 years old from Los Angeles, California, and a senior at USC. She won the NCAA heptathlon title last month in Eugene, Oregon, and right now sits in 3rd place with 5,371 points.
Well, this is an event, the 800 meters, which is different than the other 6 that preceded. Each of the other 6 are explosive events. The 200 meters, the javelin throw, the shot put, the high jump, they're all explosive events. This one is different. This one uses different systems than those events. This uses a different mental approach. This one is one in which patience is needed, and this is the one that they all hate. This is the one they practice the least, and Bob knows that with Jackie. They get the other events out of the way, and this one is kind of left to gut it all out.
The 1986 Sullivan Award winner as the top amateur athlete in the country, only the 8th woman to be so honored, is Jackie Joyner-Kersee, going to break her own world record and tell the world that she's ready to go to Seoul and take on anybody in the women's heptathlon.
If it were any other athlete, I would say there's always a chance during this 800 meters that the heat would get to her, but she's been out here for 2 days, 8 hours a day, temperatures close to 100 degrees, but I don't think it will get her because we've seen her do the same thing in Houston and Baton Rouge and other hot places. She only needs to run 2 minutes, 24 seconds. She has run 2:09, so it's well off of her best, but she probably will go very conservatively the first lap and see how she feels. As her husband mentioned in the interview earlier, it's not a question of breaking the record, it's a question now of breaking it, but not wrecking her body so much that it will damage her chances in the Olympics.
They break the stagger as they come past the cones. Still in the first lap of the 2 they must complete in this 800-meter race. Running side by side is Jane Frederick and Wendy Brown, and right there is Jackie Joyner-Kersee in the yellow.
Well, even as I say, she can take it easy and run about 72 seconds for each of the laps. She is doing just that. That first 200 meters was only about 35 seconds.
Bob Kersee there watching this race. Cindy Griner right now is in 1st place. She is 2nd right now in the heptathlon standings. So it is Griner running with Jackie Joyner-Kersee.
Her husband becomes very important at this point. He needs to yell to her and tell her how she's doing on her pace. There it is, 70 seconds. So she's got about 4 seconds of padding now going into this 2nd lap.
Jane Frederick is moving away from Wendy Brown in 3rd place. She's trying to make some space up between her, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, and Cindy Griner. And Kersee has moved in front of Griner to take the lead. Just a little over a half a lap to go now. Bob Kersee pacing.
Jackie now taking the lead into the strong wind down that backstretch. Running very relaxed right now. The record should be hers, but it has been a long 2 days. Incredible as she was in the hurdles, she was much better than she was last year. The 200 meters destroying the field. This is the one event where she's human, where she gets some competition.
Jackie Joyner-Kersee would want to peak in Seoul, South Korea, and so you might not consider this to be her peak. But if this isn't her peak, what might lie ahead? She's being challenged down the stretch by Griner, and Jackie Joyner-Kersee will go side by side with her in a time of 2:20.64, which is the new world record. And Jane Frederick fell back. Wendy Brown came in third. Jane Frederick will not make this Olympic team. Her new world record total, 7,216 points. And the best is only getting better.
It would be hard to imagine how she can improve too much in this event, but the 800 meters is a prime example. Had it been cooler, had this been the Olympic Games and she had run her 2:09 personal best, she could lower the record even more. In many of the events, though, she just was fantastic. The javelin throw, the winds helped her incredibly well, and it's hard to imagine the record going much higher, but as you saw in this 800 meters, the clock tells us that she can go much faster.
And how about Cindy Griner giving her a little push in the last 50 yards or so?
Well, you can talk about saving it for the Olympics and you've got the record in hand, but basically they're just like racehorses. When someone's on your shoulder, you don't think about all that. You don't plan, you just react. And this was her reaction to go for the win.
Interesting that in the Los Angeles Summer Olympics, Jackie Joyner-Kersee led the competition heading into this, the final event, the 800 meters. If she had run 0.6 of a second faster, she would have won the gold. She was hampered by a strained hamstring and wound up losing the heptathlon title by 5 points to Australia's Glynis Nunn. But she looks virtually unbeatable in 1988.
She needs her right now.
Let's go down to Catherine Switzer. Catherine?
Jackie's coming over to us right now.
The next high jumper.
Jackie, I know you're exhausted, but it was a fantastic performance, a new world record. Just tell us a little about your events and how you feel about the moment.
I feel really good. 220 was awful hard, but I've taken it in stride. Take it to Seoul, Korea, knowing that I can do a lot better.
You know you can do a lot better, Jackie. Even the 800 was supposedly your hardest event.
Yes, in this humidity, and knowing that all I needed was 221. All I wanted to run was 219 to 220, and I was able to do that.
Jackie, people say that you are the next Babe Didrikson, the Saharius. That is the greatest woman athlete in the world. How does that make you feel?
Oh, yeah. That's an honor, because Babe was one of the greatest. And if someone can consider me such an athlete like she was, I'm happy and pleased.
One last question, Jackie. Bobby said not to get too many points because you're going to have to do it again in Seoul. Can you even imagine doing such a thing at this moment?
Yes, because the second day wasn't as good as I wanted, and knowing that I can go $3 in the points on the second day, but I feel good.
Where would you improve, Jackie? Where would you just improve?
I didn't hear you.
Where would you, which event would you improve in, Jackie, and then we'll go?
Long jump.
Ready to run the 100, fellas.
I'm gonna have to sit down and reevaluate everything.
Well, good. We're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to you in Seoul, and back up to you, Al.
Supergirl is out of breath. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, Cindy Griner, and Wendy Brown will represent the United States in the women's heptathlon. Interestingly enough, after only 6 events, her total points would have earned her a spot on the '84 Olympic team. She has raised the level that everyone else must chase. Carl Lewis is coming up in the 100-meter finalists, the 1984 Olympic gold medalist in the triple jump. That year, he passed on his 5th jump at the Olympics just so the crowd could cheer on Jackie in the final event of the heptathlon. That's the relationship there. There's even an Al and Jackie Joyner Park in East St. Louis. Well, Al was trying to make the Olympic team again, and just a short while ago, he failed in his effort to make the triple jump team for the United States. So now the Joyner family will be united in cheering just for Jackie Joyner-Kersee in the heptathlon. Meanwhile, 12,111 are gathered in this hot sunshine up near 100 degrees, waiting to see who will represent the United States in the 100 meters event. We're getting ready for the final. And the world and American records can be spelled out with Carl Lewis and Calvin Smith and Ben Johnson, who we've already spoken to on ABC's Wide World of Sports today. And Carl Lewis and Calvin Smith, who share the American record, will both be coming up in this final. In lane 4, we'll take a look at Calvin Smith, who many feel hasn't really been given the credit that he feels and many other people feel he deserves for being the top sprinter for a long time.
Well, Calvin is a quiet guy, first off. He doesn't seek the publicity, he doesn't seek the public light, and he also is good at peaking at the end of the season. So many of his best races were in Europe and not in the United States, where he would get more publicity. That's why you haven't heard much about him. He also has been concentrating on 200 meters. He's the world champion the last 2 times at 200 meters. Now he's running very well at 100 meters.
He's now 27 years old, a graduate of Alabama. He ran for the Crimson Tide when Bear Bryant was still there. And right next to him is Carl Lewis. Yesterday, a pair of 9.96s, and today another strong effort. The 9.93, the co-American world record holder, with Calvin Smith right next to him. And I guess this is exactly the way it should come down, to the 2 American co-record holders in the final side by side.
I don't think you could have predicted that a couple of years ago. 3 years ago, people would have felt that Calvin Smith was finished with 100 meters and that Carl Lewis had too many other interests and may not even be around in 1988. So it is gratifying to see the 2 best ever. And I think we'll see that American record time bettered. Whether or not the wind will be legal is the question.
Dennis Mitchell is in lane 1. It is Mike March in lane 2. Joe DeLoach, the NCAA champion, in lane 3. What a surprise he has been in this particular event. His specialty was the 200 meters. Then Smith and Lewis. Albert Robertson, who ran a 9.94 to get into this final. He was fast today. Lee McNeil in lane 7 and Emmett King running unattached in lane 8. Here it is. The top 3 represent the United States in the 100 meters. The top 4 will most likely be the 4 men to run the 4x100 relay in the Olympic Games.
Please. We thank you. Mitchell, Marsh, DeLoach, Smith, Lewis, Robinson.
You see the little loudspeakers behind each of the runners in the blocks. Not really necessary with a small crowd like this. There'll be some noise in a moment. Gusts of wind echoing off the microphones. The stadium is absolutely still. Smith in 4, Lewis in 5. Smith breaks out early. Lewis is right with him. Smith being beaten by Lewis. Lewis breaks away and wins the 100-meter final in a time of 9.78.
Okay, that could be the world record. I was watching the flags almost as much as I was watching the race. And if anything, the wind was coming from the side, and the side which would be sheltered by the stands.
There you see Ben Johnson watching in Canada at Carl Lewis running a 9.78. That's the fastest all time in any conditions. Interestingly enough, his time at the '84 Summer Olympics to win the gold medal was only a 9.99. Calvin Smith finished in, actually sliding into second place was Dennis Mitchell, who was in lane 1. He had his hands raised as he came across the line. And Calvin Smith finishes in 3rd to round out the United States Olympic team in the 100 meters. But what a moment of drama.
But we have seen the fastest that any man has ever covered 100 meters, and we saw the fastest that any woman has covered 100 meters. Incidentally, the number 1 and 2 man there, Carl, you saw him hug Dennis Mitchell. Both of them grew up within 100 miles of each other in New Jersey.
The unofficial time is 9:78. Let's go to Catherine Switzer.
And Carl, fantastic. You know, another Olympic Games for you.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I've come a long way in the last 4 years, and to run a personal best at a meet like this means so much.
Carl, in 3 of the races here, you have bettered a time that would have won the Olympic gold medal. I mean, it's been 4 years since the Olympics. Did you know that?
Well, I knew it, and I felt I was in the best shape I've ever been in. I tell you, people looked at Rome last year as a down race for me, but I thought it was a big race. And now I'm ready to go, and I know I can duplicate that legal.
Look, the only thing you're lacking is a world record. You thought you had it. Ben Johnson got it bettered. Has Ben Johnson motivated you this year?
Well, I wouldn't say Ben in particular, but knowing that I can improve, knowing that I'm older and stronger, and races like tonight prove it, so I'm ready.
Okay, you know Ben Johnson is watching this race live out of Toronto right now. What did you tell him?
I'm ready. USA wants it back.
Back to you, Al.
All right, Ben, take that. Now, this again was the fastest time ever recorded by anyone, but right now we're being told that it was wind-aided at a time of 9.78.
Well, right next to Carl on the right-hand side in lane 4, Calvin Smith did have the better start. Carl took his time getting up to full speed, once again harnessing his energies for the latter part of the race. That's where a lot of action happened. The places really changed. Carl holding his his form well. He was getting a lot of pressure from Calvin Smith. Carl even starting to lean forward here a little bit as he senses a tape. And on the inside, lane 1, watch Dennis Mitchell. He's going to get second, I believe. And Calvin Smith may get third. Remember, in '84, he did not qualify in either individual event, so he would love to get that third spot. 6 men from this race will get to go to Seoul as alternates on the relay. Once again, Carl coming out of the blocks, running almost perfectly straight down his lane. You've got 2 veterans here, 2 men who know what they're doing, 2 men who don't crack under pressure, and in this case, they both pushed each other to one of the greatest performances in history.
Well, how's this for close as far as fulfilling dreams to represent this country? Carl Lewis in a time of 9:78, then Mitchell in a time of 9:86. Then behind him by 1/100th of a second at 9:87 is Calvin Smith. And then Albert Robinson, who ran so well, loses out a position on the 100-meter U.S. Olympic team by 1/100th of a second. No appeals, no nothing. Even if you were injured and couldn't race here, it doesn't matter. You had to do it here at the Olympic trials to make the team. And that will be the story of the U.S. Olympic trials in track and field as we continue our coverage over the next 2 weekends. Carl Lewis and Jackie Joyner-Kersee stars today. Let's go to Frank Gifford.
Thank you very much, Al. And, of course, looking on up in Toronto, Ben Johnson, his world record, again, safe because of the wind. Carl Lewis at 9:78. Let's go quickly now to Ben and get your reaction to what you saw. Ben, you have quite a confrontation coming up in Seoul, wouldn't you say?
Well, right now, like I said before, I'm 100% ready. I'm a lot faster than last year, and I'm ready to go.
You had a look at Carl Lewis. How do you think he may have changed from your last meeting with him last summer?
Well, you know, things have changed last summer. The workmanship is gone. Now you have to look for the future, and now I'm looking for the games. And, you know, Carl's always run very good races, where in almost been, always come back from behind and win most of his is in better races, and you see that today where he was behind for half a meter and coming around 9.7.
Okay, Ben, once again, we thank you for taking your time to join us. We wish you well, and particularly we hope your leg responds to the treatment. We'll be off, so let's go out now to Keith once again in Las Vegas. Keith?
Well, at the end of a very hot day here in Las Vegas at Caesars Palace Pavilion, we have concluded the boxing activity. It's been quite a day, hasn't it? We've gone from here to there and everywhere, and you've seen some incredible athletic performances. Well, here we have decided 9 spots for the U.S. Olympic boxing team, actually 8 spots. There will be 4 fights tomorrow. One of them was a particularly interesting and surprising decision, I thought, and it bodes well for tomorrow if you like amateur boxing. Here are the 8 people who have won their place, earned their ticket to the Olympic Games. Michael Carbajal, 106 pounds. Arthur Johnson, 112 pounds. Romalis Ellis, 132 pounds. These are the young men who are going. Todd Foster, 139 pounds. Kenneth Gould is the welterweight, 147. Roy Jones, a close one, 3-2 over Frank Lyles to win at 156. Anthony Hembrick had the walkover. He was a spectator today at 165. Ray Mercer was indefatigable, dogged, and wins the heavyweight title and goes to the Olympics, and he jumped 7 feet straight up when he got the call. Now the fights for tomorrow. Kennedy McKinney, who was the champion at the Olympic trials, beaten today by Michael Collins at 119 pounds. They will meet again tomorrow in their second bout of the box-off. At 125 pounds, Kelsey Banks defeated Ed Hobson. They will meet tomorrow. At 178 pounds, Andrew Maynard, disdaining all this advice about being a boxer, came out and brawled his way to a decision over Al Cole, both Army men, and so they will meet tomorrow. The super heavyweights, Riddick Bowe got the call today over Robert Salters. It was close, 3-2, the decision for Bowe, and so the big men, the super heavyweights, will meet tomorrow. So there are 4 bouts on the card in the final moment of these Olympic trials and the box-off. The whole thing designed, mind you, to bring the 12 best to the 4 and send them off to the Olympic Games. So we'll be back here in Las Vegas tomorrow for the story of those 4 bouts as the Olympic trials continue across the country. Once again, let us return to Frank Gifford.
Thank you very much, Keith. We really couldn't bring you everything. We apologize for not bringing you the 178-pounders, Al Cole and Andrew Maynard. Tomorrow on ABC Sports, the 3rd round of the rain-delayed British Open begins live at 10:30 Eastern Time. U.S. Olympic trials coverage continues at 3 o'clock Eastern with track and field. You'll see that, of course, live from right here in Indianapolis. And the final box offs of the Olympic bursts live from Las Vegas. Following the trials, Mutual of Omaha's Spirit of Adventure presents Rafting into Siberia. Stay tuned for your local news and ABC World News Saturday over. More live action from the track and field trials here in Indianapolis. We'll also go live to the box office in Las Vegas, where 8 fighters will get their final shot at a place on America's Olympic boxing team. Track and field is up first, and for more on that, here's Al Trotwig. Al?
All right, Frank, yesterday some important positions on the U.S. Olympic team were awarded, and today we believe there will be more of the same. We have some exciting performers and some exciting races. But before we look ahead to today, we really have to go back to yesterday. What a day. It was a hot Saturday in Indianapolis that Rod Serling would have loved. For a time period of 45 windy minutes, the planets were aligned and biorhythms were in order, and not a record was safe. At 3:51, Florence Griffith Joyner, not known for great success in the 100 meters, runs the fastest one of all time. There has been controversy about the wind, but right now the record stands. And if it does, it could last for years. 4:28 Eastern Standard Time. Jackie Joyner-Kersee finishes 2nd in the final event of the heptathlon, the 800 meters. A finish good enough to set a new Herculean world record in the event. 4:32 Eastern Time. Willie Banks jumps 59, 8.5, the furthest triple jump by anyone, anywhere. Officially, it was an effort aided by the wind, but it was a startling effort nonetheless. 4:36 Eastern Standard Time. Carl Lewis runs the fastest 100-meter race of all time, a 9.78-second effort. It was also wind-aided, but it was also the fastest overall race ever, as 7 men broke the 10-second mark. Today, Edwin Moses will go in the final of the 400-meter hurdles. Also, Florence Griffith Joyner goes in the 100 meters to prove yesterday was not a fluke. And then Mary Slaney, we'll see her in the final of the 3,000 meters as our coverage of the U.S. Olympic trials in track and field continues. But there's boxing today, and here's Keith Jackson for that.
Well, it's warm in Las Vegas, too. You see 108 degrees, and today these are the final desperate moments in the selection process for the membership of the U.S. Olympic boxing team. The Olympic box-off, very simply put, the winner today goes to Seoul, South Korea. The loser goes home. Those are the people fighting at 119 pounds. McKinney, he won the trials. 201 pounds plus that super heavyweight, Salters and Bowe. They've got to go a 2nd day in a row. 125 pounds, the matchup is Ed Hobson and the veteran Kelsey Banks. And at 178 pounds, Al Cole and Andrew Maynard fighting for the 2nd day in a row. There has been a bit of a soap opera atmosphere swirling around the Amateur Boxing Federation program and the Olympic trials and the composition of the team and especially the coaches. I want to turn right now to Coach Hank Johnson, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army, a man who brought a half a dozen people, highly qualified, successful people to the trials. Hank, I understand you have made your decision as of last night that you will not be part of the official Olympic delegation as a coach.
That is official. And the reason is that I feel that the man that they have as the head coach is really not qualified to be the head coach. He has not earned his way there. He was appointed, and he does not have coach's credential. He is an outstanding team manager, but he is not a coach, a boxing coach. Maybe in the future he could be. But right now, he's just too young in his career as far as coaching.
That man is Tom Coulter. So then you disagree with the selection process?
I totally disagree with that selection process. I think we need to be at our best when we get ready to go compete in the Olympic Games. And we need to have strong leadership, and we need to have someone that can disciplinary the boxers and also motivate them and bring the best out of them to make them to be able to compete at their best.
Will you go as an unofficial member? Will you go and maintain some contact with your people who make the team?
If I have the money, if I could get the money, I would do that. But see, that opens up another door. I couldn't just go and just work with my people, because all of these young men I have worked with. And if I win, I would work with all of them. It wouldn't be just the people from the Army, because they're all mine.
Hank, I'm sorry you're not going. I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Hank Johnson, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army, who should be part of the Olympic delegation, but apparently will not be. Also this week, Sugar Ray Leonard resigned as technical advisor, citing the reasons that nobody was taking his advice, that in the main, and he particularly mentioned Hank Johnson. But let's turn next to the man who is going to be the Olympic boxing coach, Tom Coulter. And Tom, it appears that you're launching your career in some troubled waters.
Well, I don't believe that's true. I just think that surrounding every Olympics, there is always controversy about who should be where and who should have command. And I've been in this thing 38 years, and I understand that the problems, and I'm going to go into this with a great group of young men, and we're going to do a job regardless of the friction at this point.
Everybody seems to praise your ability as a manager, as an administrator, and so forth, but at the same time critical of your background as a coach.
You know, it seems to me that's kind of funny, because I do all the Army clinics for coaching. I've done 8 FORSCOM clinics for the U.S. Army, about 6-7 years in a row, and I find this very difficult for the Army to understand, because why would they bring me in as their coaching clinician if I didn't know anything about coaching? I think you'll find that my first trip was back in 1968 with the Olympic team prior to their going to. So we've been around a long time. We can do the job.
I hope the water's smooth. I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, Keith.
Tom Coulter, who will be the Olympic coach as the team departs for Seoul, South Korea. We've got some fun coming up today from Las Vegas, and we go to Frank Gifford.
Thank you very much, Keith. And the chaos continues. It's been that way all year long with the boxing team. It's hard to imagine this young boxing team could not benefit from the talents of Sugar Ray Leonard and Hank Johnson. It is a chaotic story, and we'll continue to cover it for you. The box office, track and field, it's all live today as ABC Sports continues.
Michael Collins. Collins is the veteran out of LaPorte, Texas. He's been boxing 11 years. He's boxed all over the world. 12-4 international record. He lost to McKinney in the trial semis 4-1. He defeated this young man, McKinney, here yesterday by a score of 4-1 to set up this final moment for both. The winner goes to the Olympics. The loser goes home. Carmen Williamson out of Toledo, Ohio, is the referee. The judges who make the decision. Referee does not have a vote. Jerry Dusenberry, Tony Filippelli, Elmo Adolf, Marco Safaraz, and John Hollis. As I indicated a few minutes ago, it is the final desperate moments, because the loser goes home. Michael Collins with that familiar left-handed posture. Kennedy McKinney a little lethargic, I thought, perhaps yesterday, not as dramatic as he was in the Olympic trials, which he won in beating Collins in the semifinals. There is Collins' game right there. The pick at long range. Michael is best at that. McKinney has got to keep the pressure on, has got to go for his combinations. You can't lay around today and look to counterpunch and get the ticket to Seoul, Korea. The white gloves, you must land with that white portion of the glove. Otherwise, you'll get no judgment from the people who make the decision. You must make a fight, and I don't think that's going to be a problem in the 4 bouts today. The doctor is the ultimate authority at ringside. He can stop the bout any time. There is a very good shot to the head by Michael Collins, perhaps the first blow of this first round. They fight 3 3-minute rounds. McKinney forcing the fight. Michael Collins moving very well and countering very well. And Collins, particularly yesterday, was able to get off first. And when you get off first, whether the blow is heavy or not, you're going to take away the impetus of the other man. And Collins was very, very effective yesterday at getting off first and moving. McKinney trying to force it is leaving his head more available than we have seen in the past. That's McKinney in the blue and Collins in the red. That's a pretty good combination to the head there by Kennedy McKinney. McKinney wearing an Army headgear. He's being coached by Hank Johnson, and Michael Collins just tattooed that headgear right there. McKinney is still in the reserves, having just gotten out of the Army this year. A minute to go in the first of 3 rounds. Right hand there. Michael Collins snapping the head back of McKinney. As Hank Johnson coaching McKinney from the corner. You're not entitled to vocally coach out of the corner. They'll run you out of the building. There is no feeling out process necessary for any of the bouts today because these people know each other. Over the last 2 weeks, they've been living together, working together, and now are boxing each other. Collins, rotating the elbow across the back of the head of McKinney, gets a word or two from Carmen Williamson. Collins has been the more accurate of the two boxers here in the first round. Of his warrior as we go to round number 2, but Hank Johnson not satisfied with the work of Kennedy McKinney in the first round, and this is what he had to say to it.
You're just trying to hit him. You don't have any plan. Utilize the jab. Started on the jab first. Box your way in. We got to do more boxing. Don't just walk to this turkey. You're just walking in, worry behind.
Well, that pretty well sums it up. You're walking in, and each time he walks in, he gets popped with that right-hand jab of Collins, and he just took another one right to the face. It has some authority, too. Accuracy is a very important thing in the judgment of Olympic-type amateur boxing. Collins has been the more accurate of the two so far. McKinney forcing it, but that's all right with Collins because Michael's natural game is to do what he's doing. Move it, move it, move it. And then flurries and combination. See Collins get off first there, completely nullifying the effort by McKinney to reach him. Halfway through the fight, I would say McKinney's got a problem. Collins was very sharp yesterday, and he looks very sharp today. Eight people chosen yesterday in bouts to go to Seoul, South Korea, and the Olympics. 4 of the invitees, the most noteworthy opponents, were winners, and thus we have 4 bouts today. See Collins there, long arms, edge in the reach of about 2 inches. Just razor sharp right now. Of it coming off the ropes. McKinney now, I think, showing some of the desperation that is beginning to seep into his soul as he perhaps feels his dream expiring. That's a good right hand by McKinney there. But Michael Collins, you've got to cut off the ring. You can't give him 20 square feet to work. Has been in control of the fight since the first bell. Michael Collins comes with big credentials. 85, 86, 87, the national champion, won the Olympic Festival in 1986 and 87. Of course, Indianapolis is the site of one of those Olympic festivals, and that's where we'll be going in just a few minutes for more coverage of the Olympic track and field trials and one of the dramatic moments of the weekend, the great Edwin Moses 400-meter hurdles. That's coming up. And it will be live. Collins a little short with that combination. McKinney stopped for a moment, a string hanging down from his glove. Kennedy has been forcing the fight all day, but he has not been able to get to Collins. He's been pretty straight up, and he has really been an available target to Michael. There's a good right hand by Kennedy McKinney. He is out of Killeen, Texas. We've got a pair of Texans going at it right here. extra for Collins in the exchange, and a particularly good left hand. McKinney tries to pin him on the ropes and blows him around a bit, but there was no damage. This is round 3. The winner goes to the Olympic Games. That's a good right hand by McKinney. He may have hurt Collins. He really nailed him with that straight right hand as Collins was trying to feint and go to his left, and he got hit on the feint. There's another good combination by McKinney, and another one. So now Collins is getting hit here in the 3rd round, and Carmen Williamson again quiets the McKinney corner. There's Red Weston, Michael Collins' coach. Michael slowed up just all of a sudden here in this 3rd round. I personally thought he won the first 2. Another good right hand by Kennedy McKinney. That's another one by McKinney. So here in the last minute and a half of the fight, Kennedy McKinney has been at his most effective level. But it may be too little, too late. But he's really a game kid. That right hand lead, effective again. Collins using all the rings in the final seconds of the 119-pound bout. Michael Collins,
the winner in the bantamweight classification at 119 pounds and a member of the 1988 Olympic team by a score of 4-1, is in the blue corner, Kennedy McKinney.
McKinney gets the call. McKinney exulting in the arms of his coach. And Michael Collins bitterly disappointed. Michael thought he had a better outing. McKinney made the fight. He kept going forward. And apparently the judgment of the officials was that he didn't participate enough in making the fight as he used the entire ring. And so Kennedy McKinney out of Killeen, Texas, gets his ticket to the Olympic Games in Seoul, South Korea, with a 4-1 decision over the veteran Michael Collins. We're seeing a changing of the guard in amateur boxing. We'll be back with more later. Right now, let's rejoin the track and field trials in Al Troutwig.
Keith, not since Hurricane Gloria have so many people spoken so much about wind. That's the topic today in Indianapolis, Indiana, as we prepare for the men's 400-meter hurdles final. And that will be coming up, starring a man who has set new levels of consistency in athletics, in track and field, beginning his performance for the United States in the Olympic Games in 1976 and moving on to set records everywhere and inspire us in many ways. His story is one that deserves a little closer inspection as we prepare to the moment that will allow him to earn a spot on his 4th Olympic team. Edwin Moses.
I feel younger than the average 32-year-old for sure. I think age is a state of mind, and some of the oldest people in this country are doing some of the greatest things. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is still going strong at 41. I doubt that I'll run hurdles at 41, but I think it's as hard at this age, after being in it for 12 years, as basketball is for him.
No one could have known back in 1976 that 20-year-old Edwin Moses would become one of the legendary performers in track. At the Montreal Olympics, his victory lap with Mike Shine drew most of the attention. But it was 1 year later that the most remarkable streak in sports began. Edwin's win streak covering 107 meets, spanning 9 years, 9 weeks, and 9 days. Along the way, there were hurdles to cross and more titles to be won. But in 1980, the Jimmy Carter-led boycott deprived him of a probable gold in Moscow.
And I have notified the Olympic Committee that with Soviet invading forces in Afghanistan, neither the American people nor I will support sending an Olympic team to Moscow.
In the name of the athletes, I promise that we shall take part in the Olympic Games.
In Los Angeles, his peers honored Moses by choosing him to give the athlete's oath at the opening ceremony. And while he stumbled over some of his words, he was a graceful man on the track. A second gold medal in the 400-meter hurdles was soon his, as America saw this to be a huge relief to his wife, Mirella. His stunning consistency brought him other awards and notoriety. But then came two ill-timed visits, one to Sunset Boulevard and one with Danny Harris. The charges of solicitation were thrown out from his visit to Sunset Boulevard, but the streak-ending loss to Harris last year could not be dropped. The streak, which had begun when Harris was in the 6th grade, appeared to end an era. But Moses came back later in the summer. At the World Championships in Rome, he showed he was not ready to pass the torch to Harris, but perform under it again at the Olympic Games in style. He held off Harris and Harold Schmid, the bookends of his streak, to win another world crown. At age 32, can the resilient Moses make his 4th Olympic team?
Well, I'm still here. I doubt that there are many athletes that are here now that would be competing when they're 32 years old or 33, as I would be soon.
In about 2 minutes, maybe Edwin Moses' greatest test, as one of the deepest fields of talent in this event is assembled on the track in these U.S. Olympic track and field trials. The world and American record is held by Edwin Moses at 47.02. It was set in 1983 in Koblenz, West Germany. And the talent we speak of, we'll begin telling you about now in lane 3. Andre Phillips, a comeback story, really. #1 ranked in 85 and 86. And then some injury problems, and now trying to do something as he's looked well in Indianapolis. Edwin Moses will be next to him in lane 4, now 32 years old, living in Newport Beach, California. Kevin Young, maybe the next great American in the 400-meter hurdles, is next in lane 5. He won the NCAA title for the 2nd time this year with a time of 47.85. He may use as little as 12 strides between hurdles, and that is remarkable. Lane 6 will find Danny Harris, the man who broke Edwin Moses' streak at 107 meets. But Harris has run a limited schedule this year and has not been particularly impressive. His greatest accomplishment to date may be his Olympic Games silver medal in the 400-meter hurdles as an 18-year-old. Quickly then, the rest of the field. David Patrick, a graduate of Tennessee, in lane 1. Trinell Hawkins, a 24-year-old out of Angelo State, in lane 2. Then Phillips, Moses, Young, and Harris. In lane 7, a junior at Iowa, Pat McGee. And in lane 8, Kevin Henderson from Cleveland, Ohio, who is 23 years old and the 1988 TAC TAC champion in this event.
Of course, Edwin Moses trying to be the first athlete, male athlete, to win 4 Olympic trials, but this is a bittersweet moment. And on one hand, it's the strongest event for the United States. 4 times the United States has swept the medals in the Olympic Games. The last time was 1960. We have won it 13 times. The bad part about it is the 4 best hurdlers in the world, 4 men who could win the gold medal given another 2 months' time, are in the race, and one of them won't get the opportunity to try.
The top 3 finishers will be members of the United States Olympic team in Seoul, South Korea. The surface is Mondo rubber. Yesterday we learned it was fast, and we'll get into a little bit more the circumstances surrounding yesterday's controversial world record by Florence Griffith Joyner.
Andre Phillips and Edwin Moses in lane 3 and 4 have a bit of an edge. Danny Harris out there in lane 6 won't be able to see his top competition. That's a bit of a detriment. But Kevin Young in lane 5 goes out very quickly with 12 strides for the first 3 hurdles. That may help Harris, or it may hinder him.
Moses in lane 4 wearing red.
Set.
1 lap around. As the stagger is broken, you simply need to look at who jumps the hurdle first to see who is in the lead. And right now it is Kevin Young, but now Edwin Moses has moved up along him. Moses moving up alongside Andre Phillips.
Moses is leading right now. Kevin Young in blue is the one that's in trouble. He has now switched to 13 strides and is making up some ground. But right now, Edwin Moses is the first man with his foot down off of each hurdle, and Danny Harris is running well.
Edwin Moses coming down the center of the track out of the final turn. 2 more hurdles to go.
Here comes Youth after him, Kevin Young, but he hit the hurdle.
Young hits a hurdle. It is Phillips over Moses' left shoulder. Young over his right shoulder. Moses still with the lead. He is still America's best. 47.38.
And it is inconclusive. There's 1 and 2 hugging Andre Phillips after a disappointing year last year, back almost on top. And Edwin Moses, what a relief. 9th fastest race in history. The race for 3rd place in the final spot on the team, which thought to be a battle between 2 men, has widened out to be 3 men, as David Patrick may have been in it and is celebrating as if he may have gotten 3rd, which would be a huge upset because he would have had to knock off Harris and Kevin Young. Kevin Young appeared to have the 2nd spot in hand, and he hit the 2nd to last hurdle. But in the hurdles, it's consistency, and that's Edwin Moses' trait. Moses now in the lead. Here comes Harris. Kevin Young hits this hurdle here. Still has a chance to gather himself, but watch, David Patrick glanced over when he heard the noise, and he started to dig. Andre Phillips now in 2nd. Kevin Young starting to die. Danny Harris makes a valiant effort in the white. He's going after Kevin Young, but it seems like it might be David Patrick, who up until the last minute thought he was going to run 800 meters because this field was too tough. Okay.
Look at Harris.
Harris has started leaning very early. Kevin Young, the tall man at 6'4", looks as if he will make it by a right given to him at birth. 6'4", Kevin Young on the lean. It's the torso, not the head, but his shoulders were just ahead of Danny Harris and Dave Patrick.
Well, Marty, that's a really good exhibition of the pressure that's involved. Imagine if you're Kevin Young, how many times you've run this race without hitting a hurdle. Then in maybe one of the most important races you'll ever run in your life, you hit the hurdle and maybe lose your position on the Olympic team. Right now we know that Edwin Moses will be there again for the United States, but after that it is unofficial. These are the official results of the 400-meter hurdles final here in Indianapolis. Edwin Moses in an adjusted time of 47:37, the 7th fastest of all time. Andre Phillips, the 28-year-old graduate from UCLA, will also represent the United States, as will Kevin Young, who ran in lane 5, the 21-year-old junior from UCLA. We said the United States had a deep team and that one of the top 4 teams would be disappointed. One of the top 4 runners would be disappointed, and so Danny Harris is the odd man out. Let's go to Catherine Switzer.
Myrella,
yes.
You haven't yet talked to Edwin. You're Edwin's wife, and it's been an emotional moment. He's taking his time out there.
I know, he's just very, very tired. I mean, he ran a tremendous race. It's just, I mean, I had all my good luck charms on, everything. And he ran a tremendous race. Everything was just really geared towards this one, you know, that he would peak right now.
In the Olympic Games, you didn't keep your eyes open. Did you keep your eyes open this time?
Oh, yeah. I was right up there. I was jumping up and down and screaming from the top of my lung. I was really living this one.
Congratulations to you both. Back to you, Al.
All right, Catherine, Marty, it was a performance I think we almost expected to see. The 4 best runners from the United States pushing down to the line. And Edwin Moses is the one who comes across first. Let's go to Frank Gifford, who's with Kevin Young. Frank?
Thank you, Al. Kevin Young was watching our monitor. He had a brief, well, about a minute and a half of worry and concern. All of a sudden, you saw it come up. Kevin, it must be a great feeling.
Oh, it was a wonderful feeling. They tried to tell me that they weren't sure or not, but I was pressing. I smacked the 10th hurdle, and I was just running from my heart.
You almost lost it there, didn't you?
Oh, boy, I almost lost it. I almost made a mistake I did last year at TAC. When that was to look across the field.
Is there enough in there to get Moses and Soul?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, why not? How you got this far?
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Al.
Okay, Frank, there's Edwin Moses. He's had a few cold towels wrapped around his head. He's the winner of the 400-meter hurdles final. Now, we've had some interesting developments, not only in track, as Edwin decides to take a rest. It's 94 degrees out there and very little wind and high humidity. But we've also had some very interesting developments in the field events. Let's go now to Dan Deerdorf and Larry Rawson for a report.
Thank you, Al, and you're right. Everyone is still buzzing over all the times that were turned into the track events yesterday, but we had our share of excitement in the field events as well, Larry. We formed our high jump team yesterday. It's going to be Jimmy Howard, Hollis Conway, and Brian Stanton. Those 3 will go to Seoul, but what really turned on the crowd yesterday, Larry Rawson, was the triple jump.
Dan, it did. Many track and field aficionados feel it, despite the 80 wins, the quality and depth of this event yesterday rivals anything of past World Championships or Olympic Games. And the laurel wreath, well, it went to the current world record holder.
The triple jump competition yesterday belonged to this man, Willie Banks. On his first attempt, he jumped 59 feet 3 inches wind aided. And Larry, this his final attempt of the afternoon.
He uses all 50 yards of that runway. 150 feet, takes off on his strongest leg.
The longest triple jump in history. 59 feet 8 1/2 inches for Willie Banks. How can a man stay in the air that long?
I don't know. It was wind aided, but nobody has ever jumped farther with a wind at the back that was illegal. The wind registered a little over 11 miles per hour. What's amazing, putting this in context, his winning jump almost equaled the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate, and he did it in 3 steps.
And our Becky Dixon had a chance to visit with the king.
Your thoughts now on going to Seoul and being able to erase some of that disappointment from 1984?
From now until September, all I'll be thinking about is making up for the 15 years of hard work, and for all the times that I've been down. I'm going to be up. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to carry the banner for the United States in the triple jump, and I hope to bring back that goal.
So that's it from here at the field events, Larry. Willie Banks, the star yesterday. And Michael Connolly, who came in 4th, he's competing in the long jump right now. Let's go back upstairs to Al Troutwig.
All right, Dan, a crowd of about 12,000 giving an ovation to Edwin Moses, who is almost overcome with heat, we're told. His wife, Mirella, just running towards him. She should be embracing him in a moment. There she is. And he is really a little bit beside himself because of the heat. It is tremendously hot down on the track. I'm sure the reflection off the rubber well over 100 degrees, and he is still taking his victory walk around the track. Here's the finish of the 400-meter hurdles again.
Well, there were some questions in people's minds. How dominant was Edwin Moses with these young guys coming up? But he put this race away. We knew it would be tough for 4th and 3rd place, but Dave Patrick was the surprise here, and Danny Harris, Kevin Young, looking toward this battle for 3 months now since Kevin Young came onto the scene from UCLA, and Youth wins out for that 3rd spot.
The 4th consecutive Olympic trials that Edwin Moses has won. His teammates will be Andre Phillips and Kevin Young. We'll send you now back to Keith Jackson and return to Indianapolis shortly.
Edwin, he just keeps rolling along. He is a marvel of our generation. We are now ready for 125 pounds featherweight. And Kelsey Banks, 23 years of age, 5'11 and a half, 72 and a half inch reach out of Houston, Texas. If he can win it, he goes to the Olympic Games. But he'll be tested by 17-year-old Ed Hobson, who stands only 5'3 1/4 and gives away 11 inches in reach. Hobson beat Kelsey Banks 3-2 in the Olympic trials. Elmo Adolph out of Destrehan, Louisiana, the referee. Yesterday, Kelsey Banks beat Hobson 4-1. And Hobson was penalized for holding in the 2nd round. He was also penalized for holding when he won the Olympic trials. Kelsey Banks, with that big advantage in reach, has got to try to keep this raging inferno at arm's length. Hobson's only chance against Kelsey Banks is to storm the bastion, and that's what he'll try to do. He's 17 years old, full of vim and vigor. He can afford a few misses. He's got the energy. Elmo Adolph, referee, with a big grin on his face, because this kid he's a sight. He is a monument to doggedness and determination. But Ed Hobson is in the ring right now with a man in white who will jump him if he gets underneath and starts using that head, or if there's holding. I mean, he will get it quick because he's an experienced veteran international official. Banks got to get out of the corner. Kelsey from Houston, Texas. Hobson from St. Louis. Young Ed is still in high school. Won't graduate before 90. Right-hand jab of Kelsey Banks. The right hook of Hobson. Another right hand whistled over the top by Ed. inches in reach. Your mountain is pretty high. Who is wont to do flips after a winning decision gets banked on the ropes and pounds away. But what is being done by these officials here in the trials and the box-off is they're trying to drill into these young people that this is the kind of officiating you're going to be looking at down the road. There are certain things you can't do. That right hand again by Hobson.